Okay, now let's take a look at how MongoDB chooses an index to satisfy a query. Let's imagine we have 5 indexes. When a query comes in, MongoDB looks at the query shape. Shape has to do with what fields are being searched on and additional information such as is there a sort. Based on that information, the system identifies a set of candidate indexes that it may be able to use in satisfying the query. So let's assume we have a query come in, and 3 of our 5 indexes are identified as candidates for this query. So 1, 2, and 3. MongoDB will then create 3 query plans, one each for these indexes, and in 3 parallel threads, issue the query such that each one will use a different index and see which one is able to return results the fastest. So visually, we can think of this as a race something like this. The idea here is that the first query plan to reach a goal state as the winner, but more importantly going forward, it'll be selected as the index to use for queries that have that same query shape. So what's the goal state here? Well, it can be one of a couple of things. So it could be that one of the query plans returned all the results for the query. Another way a query plan can win is by returning a certain threshold number of results. But there's a caveat here, and that is that it's able to return the results in sort order. Now the real value of doing this is that for subsequent queries that have the same query shape, MongoDB knows which index to select. The way we achieve that is through the use of a cache. So the winning query plan is stored in the cache for future use for queries of that shape. Now of course over time, our collection changes, the indexes change, so we don't want this to necessarily be the index we use forever. So there are several ways in which a query plan will end up being evicted from the cache. One of those is if there are a threshold number of writes. Right now that threshold is 1,000 writes. Another way, of course, is if we rebuild the index, or if any index is either added or dropped from the collection. And finally, if the MongoDB process is restarted, we would also lose the query plan and other plans in the cache. So this basic process is what MongoDB uses in order to figure out which index to use for the queries you submit.